But it's there's so many things. I think the organization's in a great place. Matt's been incredibly supportive. He wants to create an environment where we can be our best and where we can compete for a championship.
It's crazy because this is the most confusing team arguably in NBA history that I've.
Well, Melly, let me put those rumors about Beal to rest. They absolutely are trying to trade Bradley Beal.
Are the Suns the most disappointing team in the Western Conference right now?
Most disappointing?
Yeah.
So that was Coach Mike Budenholzer before the season started, media day, and I couldn't help but go back and watch kind of like the good vibes, obviously, before the season starts. This is with every team that you watch. And I felt like that quote was the perfect moment to put before doing this pod, just to kind of show where it started and where it's at right now. So last 10 games for the Suns, they're 7-3. And if you're looking at that alone, you're thinking, okay, Suns are picking up steam, things are looking better, but I want to take a deeper dive, and I decided to watch the last handful of their games and also go back and kind of look at what they've been doing. So this 10-game stretch, going through the bad losses, because I think that they matter, because they're also kind of in line with some of their wins. Lose to the Hornets, 115-104. That's just a horrible loss for them, right? Lose to the Hawks, 112-117. Hawks didn't have Jalen Johnson. Then they get blown out by the Cavs. And look, do I expect them to beat the Cavs? Absolutely not. The Cavs are the far better team. But no Mobley, no LeVert, no Isaac Okoro. And look, are they still the better team without Mobley? Absolutely. But, blowout like that is just, it just tells you the tier that this team really sits in. Just good enough to kind of beat the bad teams. And when I say beat the bad teams, I mean like escape beating these bad teams. Like these are tight games, and these are games that if you're a fan of the Suns, you're thinking, my goodness, what the hell is going on with this team? This team can't stop anybody, and I'm going to get into the numbers in a little bit. So here are some of the bad wins, quote unquote, the bad wins. People say win is a win, but, I consider these pretty bad wins. So beat the Hornets 120-113, right? Just tight game. Another one of those that you're like, my goodness, why can't this team just blow these bad teams out? Then they play the Wizards. They win 130-123. Now, they're blowing out the Wizards the entire time. I was watching this game, and it's about a minute left, and the Wizards have cut it to 3 points. And then, Suns just kind of close it out at the end, and they basically escape with a win after being up so much, allowing 123 points to the lowly Washington Wizards. Just unacceptable win, right? Unacceptable just performance by this team. Watching this team on offense, Devin Booker's having a pretty bad year. Bradley Beal, I've never been a fan of the guy, to be honest with you, and I've said it many times on this pod. Just don't think he's all that. And obviously he's not what he used to be, which is another thing. But his fit on this team is it never made sense, really. You're thinking, okay, they're going all in on offense, but the offense, it just looks bad. And Mike Budenholzer comes in, and I'm thinking, okay, cool. This team is probably going to be a lot better offensively, right? He's going to kind of figure things out. He's going to help pick up the pace. He's going to up the three-point volume. And they have been shooting more threes. And they're holding at a pretty decent clip right now. I think they're like at 37 or 38%, which is where they sat last year, but they were like at the bottom in three-pointers attempted. So definitely achieved taking more threes per game, at least for now. The pace is way down on this team. Just watching these guys, how they play on offense is just like, I enjoy watching KD get buckets against any team, right? Like, it doesn't even matter what night it is, who he's playing, if it's a second night of a back-to-back, whatever it is, like any scenario with KD, he is an awesome watch. But just, I can't help but watch this team and realize no one moves, right? And it's just, there's a pick and roll happening on one side of the floor, right? Obviously on the strong side. And then on the opposite side of the floor, just on the weak side, guys just standing around, no actions, nothing happening. And then on the defensive end, they can't stop anyone. So let's get to their last tight win. And it's at Detroit, right? They beat the Pistons 125-121. And it's another tight game. And mind you, the Pistons, they're playing much better. If you're a fan of the Pistons, check out that Cade Cunningham video. I did a pretty detailed breakdown on Cade Cunningham and kind of the season that he's been having. But yeah, yes, the Pistons are clicking and they've got good chemistry and, playing way better than they were last year. Some people have them making the playoffs this season. And, that's not out of the realm of possibility. So, but nonetheless, with the payroll that you have, with the players that you have, right? This can't be the score for you guys. This team, just every team is competitive with these guys. And now let's get to these numbers with the Phoenix Suns, okay? Offense, which is what they've dumped all their resources on to construct this team. They're 12th in offense, right? 22nd in defense. Did I expect this team to be good on defense? Absolutely not. But 22nd on defense. That makes them worse than the Charlotte Hornets. This team on defense, okay, opponent points. They're 19th in opponent points per game, which it puts them behind the Hornets. The Hornets are 13th in opponent points per game. Opponent points in the paint. Teams are just walking up and scoring at the rim whenever they want against these guys. There is no resistance in the paint with this team. They're 18th in points in the paint. Second chance points from opponents, they're also 19th in that regard. They're allowing 14.5 points per game off of second chance points. This team, the effort isn't there. Defense is just, come on. It shouldn't even be mentioned when you're talking about the Suns. And then on offense, they're just very stagnant. And it just, if it's not KD doing something, and if Devin Booker doesn't have it that night, this team is just, it's just in a tight game against everyone. And then you go to points scored per game, which is okay, cool. They've dumped all resources on offense for this team, and they're still 14th. That's less than the Rockets, who are a team that hangs their hat on defense, and they've been way better on offense. They've really improved. Big jump from Jalen Green. He's had a huge stretch as well. But for a team that's dumped so many resources on offense, to see how just mediocre they are on that end of the floor, and then obviously they're going to mail it in on defense. They made that move for Nick Richards, and clearly there's rumors about Jimmy Butler. Even if they trade, let's just say, in a perfect world for the Suns, they can do a straight-up trade, Beal for Butler. Or, whatever it is, they get Butler in there and Beal's gone. How much better are they really? They get a motivated Jimmy Butler. I will take a Jimmy Butler over Bradley Beal. So, for sure it's an upgrade. But what does Jimmy Butler really do for the ceiling of this team? It gives them a guy that's done it in the playoffs, gone pretty damn far, making it all the way to the finals multiple times. A guy that's been the guy on a team and actually shown success on a team with lesser help. So, he's next to KD. He's going to be next to Book. I don't know. I don't see it with the Suns. And I was never optimistic on them going into this season. I was off the train with these guys. I just couldn't get behind the idea that these guys were going to be able to do it strictly on the offensive end, and lo and behold, even the offense just doesn't look good at all. Is Mike Budenholzer on the hot seat? I don't know, because it's at this point, what do you do, right? You're going to fire another coach? They had Monty Williams, right? Let go of him. Obviously, horrendous job in Detroit. He got fired right away. But you had Monty Williams. Then you had Frank Vogel. You let go of Frank Vogel. Now you're going to let go of Mike Budenholzer? I don't know. This is clearly a roster problem. And look, man, you got to always tip your hat to the franchises that are willing to spend the money. But clearly this has just been a horrendous experiment. And draft capital for this team, future assets, not looking good. They're in a horrendous position. And then not to mention, they have the highest salary in the league, highest payroll in the league. And teams that are just lottery teams, right? Like lottery bound teams, these teams that just can't win against anyone. They're coming into these games against the Suns and they're putting up some really big fights. That lets you know this team is obviously not a contender. They're just, kind of hanging their hat on whatever they can do on one side of the ball, and they don't even do that at a high level. And I just wanted to drop this episode because I was watching the Suns just over this last week, and just watching them, it's bad basketball. It's not fun. And these guys don't even look happy, and it's just looking like a disaster. I don't know where Suns fans are at with this team. I don't know how optimistic they are. I would love to know if you guys are, feeling optimistic about this team. Do you guys feel like they have to blow this team up, just move KD, get off Booker, get the assets you need, and just start over, especially while they're pretty low in the standings. Obviously, it's still a tight race in the West. They can go on a little stretch and really move up in the standings pretty quickly. So that might be why Suns fans are still optimistic. But are you taking them over the Rockets? I mean, with the defense the Rockets play and how they've been playing recently on offense, that energized team, the chemistry is there. The vibes are immaculate in Houston. And if you're going into a series against a Rockets team like that, that's just going to give you 150% every single night, that can expose a team like the Suns, the way they play. So, do you want to go up against the Rockets? Do you want to go up against OKC? Right? Absolutely not. Do you want to go up against the Memphis Grizzlies? I don't think so. Do you want to go up against the Dallas Mavericks? Obviously, I don't know if they're going to have Lively by then if they meet in the playoffs, but I just don't see a path for this Suns team to make a deep run, even if they get what they want and land Jimmy Butler. This team is very flawed, and it's lacking a lot of things that make you feel confident in a contender. I don't see it, and if you guys see it, drop it in the comments and let me know.